Time for Criminal Law 101.
With criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from the law firm of Smith Eulo.
On 101.1 WJRR.
We are Orlando's rock station. Ken, what's happening, man? Good to see you.
Good morning, guys. How we doing today?
Doing all right, man.
How about that new intro for him? I hadn't heard that yet.
We've
Did we
been
play
playing
it last week?
Day one.
You know what it is because every time that we're doing
You're not
that
paying
intro,
attention.
No, I have my headphones off like this talking to Ken,
Yeah.
and then go, oh, wait, we're on.
Yeah, no, it's been from day one, man. We're on it. We're dialed in here at JR, Ken. From Smith and Eulo, criminal defense attorneys. Of course, some listener questions always able to be put in front of you, and you try to give some feedback on those and some directive and a couple things in the news I wanted to ask you about. Where do you want to begin, Taco?
You're familiar with the phrase ladybird? I guess it's maybe putting somebody out of their misery. Because somebody texted it last week, and now again.
I thought that had to do with a deed or something.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. So there is what's called a ladybird deed.
Okay, that's what it is then.
Okay.
Here's the guy's question real quick. I'm sorry.
Putting someone out of their misery.
I thought so.
We're euthanizing someone, Ken.
Listen to the text, and you'll understand why I thought that. I'm sorry. Can a ladybird be overturned, and can someone be charged if it's proven they did a ladybird deed while the person was heavily medicated on her final days of stage 4 cancer with hospice?
So, obviously, it has to be done consensually. It has to be signed by the person. So anytime that there's fraud involved, absolutely, you can definitely challenge fraudulent attempts to get somebody to do something. It's the same thing with anything, really. Somebody lends you money, but you coerce them and you lie to them about exactly what's happening, and the person, so these are all, in theory, could be a criminal act. I actually saw not a ladybird deed, but a quitclaim deed on a criminal case over in Polk County. I was handling that for a good while, where a person basically tricked somebody into quitclaiming deeding their entire house over to this person.
Hey, these advertisements that you see and hear about stealing your title and stuff like that, how I get they're trying to sell a product and a service here, but how often does that really happen where someone is able to actually go in and steal the title to your home without you even knowing about it, and then they're getting second mortgages and, loans and all sorts of stuff without you knowing about until it's too late?
Sure. So, doing this about 16 years, I've seen every kind of case there is. And I'll tell you, I would say there's only 2 times in my entire career, thousands and thousands of cases, that I've actually handled a person going in and, lying about a deed in some capacity. The example that I just gave you in Polk County was the quitclaim deed. It doesn't happen often, right? Like, it's not like a super common thing,
right,
but it does happen, right? It's not totally immune. I'm not sure if you've ever gone down to the office, like the property appraiser's office or things like that. It's a pretty fast process. You can walk in there, hand over a deed, hand over a document, it's notarized. It really isn't that complicated of a process. I've filed multiple quitclaim deeds, and they don't really ask for much.
Wow. Yeah, that's the scary part, I guess.
Yeah, very scary. And that's where this one's saying, because, hey, the individual was heavily medicated, sure, so kind of tricked him into it. So
you see those ladybirds a lot where, like a parent will just say, hey, I'm gonna, when I pass on, I want my child to be able to have the home, the mortgage, and they assume the responsibilities for that.
And it's good. It's a good thing to have, actually. I think more people should probably do it because it avoids probate and things like that.
Right.
So you don't have to go through the whole process and get a probate lawyer and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
this person, Ken, by the way, if you want to get in touch with Ken directly, it's Ken at smithandeulo.com. That's EULO.com. I asked a question over the text line about my employer's bouncing checks. What was the answer to that one? So the employer's bouncing checks, can they take them to court?
Yeah, it's not really an area that I specifically practice, but anytime, that an employer is not paying you and the checks are bouncing, obviously you get a couple of, things that you can do. One thing that I always tell people in kind of simple things like this is to try to have a conversation with people. I think sometimes people are so quick to jump into let's sue somebody or let's go out and get a lawyer. I think the first point of contact in that situation should be, hey, look, the check bounced. Can you write a new one?
Let's get this resolved.
Let's get this resolved. And I think that most of the time people want to go to that extreme of let's file a lawsuit and let's get employment lawyers. So I think my first recommendation in a case like that is always let's just immediately try to get this thing worked out, right? Let's just talk to them. And if it's not worked out, that's when you gotta obviously escalate it. So I think the first route's obviously talking to them.
Which, coming from a lawyer, that's great to hear because you make a livelihood of having clients. But at the same, people talking about wanting to jump the gun to sue for this and sue for that. There's costs that are involved as soon as you fire up something in the legal system.
It's funny. We get calls for the most crazy things, right? Like you have somebody that and again, never naming names, just giving you kind of broad examples. But you got people that call in to our law firm and they want. The teacher yelled at my son and
hurt his feelings. Yeah.
And I want you to sue the school, or the mechanic, he charged me $20 more than he told me he was going to charge me. And I'm like, listen, we can go after it. You want to go after it? It's going to be $5,000.
Yeah, it's going to cost you 1,000 times more than what.
Okay, I'm good. I don't need to go after it then.
Hey, we got a big story that's been in the news here locally. This oldest serving death row inmate in the state of Florida is petitioning to have what's being described as new DNA evidence allowed to, in hopes of eventually exonerating him. I don't know how that's going to go or whatever, but I had a question about, so you've been convicted of a crime, let's say in this case, murdering someone or multiple people. You're sitting in jail and you've been wrongfully convicted. And you haven't done it. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say you haven't done it. I just haven't done it. How does something like this even start? I know there's these outside groups like the Innocence Project and stuff that are always trying to campaign, but how do you initiate something, and how does new DNA evidence just all of a sudden come into the picture?
Sure. So you have different, appeal methods, right? So your first sort of attack is just a general appeal off of the legal issues on a case. That happens immediately after a case. File the motion for appeal.
Okay.
And it goes all the way up through the court system. Now, if that is denied, ultimately, then it comes back and basically the case is closed.
And you're in jail.
Yeah, you're in jail. So there's what's called post-conviction motions, things like a 3.850 for lawyer incompetence, 3.850 for newly discovered evidence, things like that. I mean, there's a bunch of different kind of clever ways that you can kind of get back in through post-conviction motions. But if you look at the two that we just talked about, the 3.850 for ineffective, that's a 2-year period, right? You only get 2 years from after the appeal is done to actually go after that. Then after that, you have unlimited amount of time under what's called 3.850 for newly discovered evidence.
Okay.
And that's the basis
where the DNA would come in for technology that really didn't even exist in this guy's case back then.
Correct. Yeah. So that's how this case is coming in. It's basically newly discovered evidence. Then obviously back in like 1975, DNA stuff was, are you type O blood?
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Like, so like, I mean, it's that sort of analysis back in 1975. But now they can actually pinpoint, with specificity, hey, this person, this blood belongs to that person, not just it's O blood, whatever type of blood it was. It's much more narrowed now to exactly who that person was.
This cig butt has his DNA on it. This
Yeah.
coffee cup.
Yeah, would you like a glass of water?
Yeah.
Questioning around. I watch a lot of police shows.
Everybody knows that scenario too.
And another question that you see this in TV a lot too, where it's depicted. Why does it always seem like DNA results take forever to get back?
So most of the time when you're talking about any sort of like forensic testing, and when we're talking about like ammunitions and DNA and testing, drugs, all of this stuff is going to FDLE, right?
Okay.
So it's not like an internal testing system. You have to actually send the results off to a independent FDLE lab, and they have experts.
Right.
And these experts are going to conduct significant testing on these objects. The FDLE is so backed up. Let me tell you,
So it's a log jam, basically.
Yeah. So, like, just to give you an example, like, you have these drug trafficking cases that I deal with pretty often. And, a lot of times people are getting out on what's called a 33-day motion because they don't file charges fast enough.
Right.
Because FDLE is not kicking back the results from the drug tests fast enough.
Wow.
So what's happening is people who are, charged with drug trafficking are just walking out after like 30 days. It's not a dismissal, but if you don't file charges within 30 days, the person has a right to do this 33-day motion, file the motion, and they get out without bond, free.
Wow.
They need to hire extra people.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a lot. I mean, they're good at what they do, but there's so much stuff coming in.
Yeah.
It's just too much for them to handle.
Okay, well, that answers that. Contact points again for Ken Taco?
Yes, and any text that we did not get to, don't worry, we'll hit them next week. We'll do our best to do that. Ken, this is his direct email, Ken at smithandeulo.com. That's smithandeulo.com.
One quick other question for you. This Netflix is showing this new Diddy documentary that was done by, an enemy of his.
I've heard it's awesome.
Watch part of it.
50 Cent.
Did you watch part of it?
I watched, first episode.
So Diddy's people sent the cease and desist to Netflix. If you receive a cease and desist,
I mean, I actually advised a client on this who was exposing
themselves.
No.
Sorry.
No, who was exposing corruption within the church practice. I'm not going to get too specific on this. I don't want to, narrow this down. But, a cease and desist is only as good as the actual authority behind it, let's say, right?
Right.
So, I mean, you could say stop doing something, but if you're allowed to do it,
right,
then I mean, what is it?
Unless you have legal standing with the cease and desist, based on whatever. Otherwise, it holds no teeth. It's just an empty threat.
In the example that I told you when I was representing somebody who was exposing corruption, that person received plenty of cease and desist, and he came to me for legal advice, and we looked up all the statutes, and we said, "There's nothing here. I mean, I think that you're in good standing to publish this." And, it was one of those things where that was it. That was the end of it. He said, okay, I'm going to roll with it.
So when we caught somebody using the name Taco Bob, which I legally own and copyrighted, remember, Pat, when we had Maria send the cease and desist, that didn't hold a lick of water. She had no legal background. She was our secretary.
No, but once
our big boss's assistant.
Once you produce the paperwork showing you own that, now you've got a legal leg to stand on.
All right, Ken, we might be going after some people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we get some cash out of that?
Not now. That's how many years ago
other
was
people
that?
are still using it. Some dude in Canada.
By the way, quickly to settle your debate earlier, open container, limo, okay.
Uber, no way, right?
Uber, no way. There you go.
Okay.
There's the answer.
Ken Eulo, thank you, brother.
All right, guys.
All right,
be good.
See you next week. Lynch and Tacos, commercial-free Workday Rock Block coming up next.
Lynch and Taco. On demand. Download the iHeartRadio app.